Okay, here we go. As the weather sounds like it's going to break, or feels like it's going to break. Good afternoon, everybody. 102. We're going to start in just a moment. We're going to new developments with the state police scandal. I want to talk about that. Also, Representative Enrique Sanchez. Gian says the sound is good, which is good news. Representative Enrique Sanchez, he is getting right up to the line. Right up to the line. Wow. I would be cautious with that, but you just never know with that guy. I would be very cautious. That does not sound like responsible talk. Sounds like talk when you start talking about a day of reckoning. All right. We're on X. The sound sounds good on X. Let me check Facebook. Either way, yes. We do have new details, by the way. New details regarding this state police sergeant. And I also want to clarify, people, that, that some of the people contacting me need to follow the story and read the story of what we're talking about with this sergeant. I have a feeling if they did, that they would not be so quickly identifying or defending, I should say, the Rhode Island State Police, of which normally I would defend. But I think they have themselves in something right now that sounds pretty tough to defend, to be quite honest. So we're going to start in just 2 minutes. 2 minutes. We're going to be live. We're also going to speak with attorney Stephanie Murphy. We're going to be live one way or the other later. Let me just check that. Okay. We have that. Okay. Yeah, now everyone's getting on the story. Which they should, by the way. And I'll tell you, there's nothing I like about this story. Zero. All right, we're going to start in 1 minute. 1 minute. We start at 106. It's just easier that way. Here we go.
Insurance company could sure make you feel small when you choose the heavy hitter. You get
There we go. All right. And YouTube is good as well. All right, we're going to start in just a moment, bringing up to speed on the latest. And folks, it looks like a rainy night. It looks that way. We'll play it by ear. At the very least, it's going to cool things down a little bit. And we will be speaking with attorney Stephanie Murphy with some of the top legal stories of the week, starting with our lead story. And right now at 106, folks, good afternoon. Yes, we are live on our Facebook page. We're live on X. We're live on YouTube. We're live on AM 1380 and 99.9 FM. Now, you can always listen online at our website, depetro.com. And we have a lot of updates on depetro.com. Quite frankly, I believe right now, for whatever reason, maybe it's summertime, maybe people are just in a different mode. I don't think people realize the magnitude of this Rhode Island State Police scandal. And that's what it is, a scandal. And this scandal is getting bigger. It's not getting smaller. But we've broken some news on this. We're going to break some more news, already have. Check out depetro.com. We had the witness on that you've been listening to. And I'm going to touch on that. We have that interview, plus the video that the witness to the trooper. We have pictures of the former trooper. I don't know what the social media guidelines are for members of the Rhode Island State Police. I don't know what they are. I would imagine, though, one of them would not be that it's okay to be posing, holding weapons of that kind. And then he even refers to it as a toy. Now, also, this happened on the night of March 23rd. And what do we have on DePetro.com? Well, it would seem there's the trooper, March 23rd. He's got a drink in his hand, and he's with a group of people that everybody seems to be drinking. Did March 23rd. That's when he got pulled over. Did the state police, did they interview any of these people? No? Didn't want to interview any of the witnesses? Anyhow, you can read all about it. We have the video. I want to be very clear. I don't enjoy posting this, but I'm certainly not going to wait for the rest of the media to go with it. Folks, it's all at DePetro.com, which is brought to you by the Cohasset Inn, 226 Cohasset Avenue, West Warwick. Again, remember, right now, the Cohasset Inn, of which I was, where's my menu for the Cohasset Inn? Here we go. I was just there on Sunday. On Sunday, I was at the Cohasset Inn. Is that how I just had it? Check the mic. Okay. And don't forget, at the Cohasset Inn, I suggest you stop in for lunch or dinner, but especially right now, the chef specials are fantastic, whether it's the pork chop or the tequila lime chicken or the prosciutto pizza or the pierogi. They have a lot of Polish special delicacies and even items. If you are a Polish descent or enjoy good Polish food, they have it at the Cohasset Inn. And then also seafood, melody bowl, surf and turf, steamers, clam cakes, and chowder. They're open 7 days a week. Stop in and see my friends at the Cohasset Inn, 226 Cohasset Avenue in West Warwick. And don't forget, they have the market at Cohasset, which not only can you then take out some delicious items, but on top of that, they have specialty items right there in the market at Cohasset, the Cohasset Inn. Now, you know what's great this time of year? Fresh vegetables. Where can you get them? PR Landscape Materials and Garden Center. They have homegrown corn. They have delicious peaches, all kinds of fresh vegetables, whether it be tomatoes, zucchini. PR Landscape Materials and Garden Center. Stop in and see them right off of Route 4, 3688 Quaker Lane in North Kingstown, where they have annuals, perennials, trees, and shrubs. Again, stop in. Full-scale nursery. It's PR Landscape Materials and Garden Center. Well, folks, again, I want to start off. We are going to talk and speak with, attorney Stephanie Murphy. Thank you, Janet. But I want to just touch on this latest with two things that are in the news, really, and neither one of them. You know what? I'll start off with Representative Enrique Sanchez. And we're going to talk with our legal expert, attorney, about this. Once again, local news. You know what's so distressing about the Representative Enrique Sanchez story is it keeps getting amplified by Fox, the local press. You understand that? The local media, they don't cover him. So Bill Malugin of Fox, he puts the Rhode Island state representative recently called ICE Nazi Gestapo thugs after they arrested an MS-13 gang member with pending fentanyl trafficking charges, now says he will confront these Nazi ICE thugs in person. It'll be a day of reckoning. There's no going back. So right below that, and I shared this, it will soon be the day I confront. First of all, that's not grammatically correct. It will soon be the day. I think he means very soon. The day I confront these Nazi ICE thugs in person for terrorizing our communities. It'll be a day of reckoning, no going back. Folks, this business of no going back, that is, that's the words that kind of echo the guy that went into the building in New York City on Monday night. And I'm not being overly dramatic. A day of reckoning and no going back. What does that mean? we're going to find out from Stephanie. Now, to me, boy, that sounds, if that's not a threat, a day of reckoning. What if someone said to you, or you would have heard someone say there's going to be a day of reckoning and no going back. That sounds very threatening to me. Again, and I hate to go through the checklist, because obviously local press, they don't cover him. We do. Fox News covers him more than our local press. Where's the Democrat Party? The Republican Party ought to amplify and stay on this, because this guy's not alone. He's calling for violence against federal law enforcement officers. A day of reckoning and no going back. What exactly does that mean? That sounds, and we'll find out from Stephanie, that sounds very threatening. Now, in regards to the state police, I want to map this out for you, because I do have friends who are members of the Rhode Island State Police. I have friends and members of law enforcement. And I recognize a number of people, apparently, are thrown at my tone, or thrown, I should say, a little bit at my tone. But Attorney General Peter Neronha stepped up yesterday and said, what is this? What is this? The two members of the Rhode Island State Police are, quote, forced to retire. But they never include the Attorney General with any of this. They decide to bring charges against this Sergeant Nuno. And the more I learn about this guy, where I believe state police did make a huge mistake, they're going to continue to make a state police, is people's lives and careers are being ruined by someone who doesn't care about them, doesn't care about the state police. Save me the BS of someone posted on my page, he just needs help. His actions 2 nights in a row. Here's the thing. I'm not saying the Rhode Island State Police can control his actions. It's very clear they can't, even though it's a paramilitary organization, and they should have given him an order. And the supervisor on duty that night should have gone to the scene on 295. Clearly, they can't control that you have someone who is a wild card, who's going off the reservations, but they were also doing nothing to rein him in. Look at his social media. Is he a trooper? Is he want to be Scarface? What is this? Posing with those weapons? He's so remorseful. He's got a drink in his hand, and there's a picture of him the night that he got pulled over. But there's more about this that I don't think it's fully come out. So this reeks of Rhode Island Governor Dan McKee. It just sounds, to me like he's got his fingerprints all over this and wanted this to just quietly go away, as though it's totally normal. Folks, here's the thing. Those that are, and I can't believe the people, I'm not even going to name names, coming at me, attacking me, blah, blah, blah. Listen, either we're going to live, are there guidelines and rules, are there not? Do the rules apply to everybody or just to a couple of people? And we're going to talk to Attorney Stephanie Murphy about that. What would happen to a regular citizen if they marched away from a DUI and said, you're not taking my blanking car or truck, you can follow me? And by the way, they didn't even follow him home. This portion of the program brought to you by Propane Plus. Call them today, 401-885-4209. In Massachusetts, 508-252-3359 for Propane Plus. If you use propane for all your heating and cooling, residential or commercial, call Propane Plus today, or they have a great website. It's propaneplus.com. If you're going to use a propane company, I implore you, use Propane Plus, the best. 401-885-4209, or in Massachusetts, 508-252-3359 for Propane Plus. In regards to the state police, and this message goes out to certain members of the state police, hey, don't kill the messenger here. You're angry at the wrong person. This guy, more than a 20-year veteran of the Rhode Island State Police, he doesn't care about the Rhode Island State Police. He doesn't care in the least. I've heard he's going to sue them. It all became about money about this guy. I don't know this guy. I know some people that know him, but he went off the reservation long ago, and no one at the state police was doing anything to rein him in. Are they going to tell me this is acceptable? Are there social media guidelines for members in law enforcement? Are there social media guidelines for members of the Rhode Island State Police? Members of the Rhode Island State Police, do you realize this guy put on a suicide vest, basically, and is willing to detonate everyone? He doesn't care in the least. He didn't care about the troopers that pulled him over. He was literally bouncing around on the roads. He didn't care about the supervisor. This guy pulled it 2 nights in a row. And I'll bet there were other times this was going on. This is the Rhode Island State Police you're talking about. It would appear that I care more about the agency than certain members. I don't know him. The photos are reckless, unbecoming of a member of law enforcement. You don't refer to a weapon like that as a toy, all on social media. What is this? Oh yeah, he's really upset about what happened that night. So much that he still has video pictures posted of him with these people, and everyone's going to drink in their hand. Who did the investigation? I want to explain something. The Rhode Island State Police clearly had no control over this trooper, but they did have control over how they were going to handle the investigation. We're told that this investigation took 4 months. In that span of 4 months, how is it that no one contacted the witness that followed him and did the right thing? First on Route 6 and then 295, and has videotape of it. What kind of investigation is that? Who then, when that witness pulled over, the police waved him off. They knew who it was. The 911 operator did. So you know, let's get it directly from someone that deals with this, and we can ask her what would happen if a regular citizen did that. And it is attorney Stephanie Murphy who joins us on this Thursday. Good afternoon, Stephanie.
Hi, John. How are you?
Very well. Stephanie, let's start with that. A couple things leading into this situation regarding this apparently now former state trooper. But let's say, starting with the video we have of if someone is riding down the highway and a police vehicle is behind them and they have their lights going and siren, does a regular person, regular citizen, do they have the right? Is there anything written they have the right to not pull over for the police?
No, they have to pull over. If they're initiating a traffic stop, pretty straightforward, pretty common. You have to pull over. That's what you have to do. If you don't know if they're coming after you or somebody else, you can slow down and move over. And then if they continue on, I have a lot of clients that's kind of the delay. They see them coming, they kind of slow down. They don't know it's coming after them. But once you're sure they're trying to initiate a traffic stop with you, yes, you have to pull over. If not, you're eluding and running away from the police.
With your experience as a criminal defense attorney, what would happen most of the time if when someone gets pulled over, put into a police vehicle, if they stood up and said to the police, "You're not going to tow my vehicle, you can follow me home"? What would normally your experience be the reaction by law enforcement?
They would tell them to be quiet, stay in the back, or you're going to get charged with, another misdemeanor of disorderly conduct, stuff like that. Yes, I don't think any law enforcement with a typical motorist would ever entertain that idea, especially from the back of a police car.
What is your general impressions on this story, Stephanie? It's very, I hope it's very unusual, but it's very alarming. The behavior, and almost to me, it's like the breakdown of law enforcement in a very dangerous situation.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like people, can get breaks and stuff like that. It's Rhode Island, who you know, what you do, stuff like that. But I think there's a proper way to exercise your judgment and what you do in a case and stuff like that. I mean, there's ways to make sure someone gets safely home, that none of the public is in jeopardy of their safety. I mean, I remember growing up, police officers used to drive people home, and stuff like that. That doesn't happen as often, but there's a way to do it. Make sure the person's safe, make sure the public's safe, make sure there's no further crimes being committed, and kind of investigate the right way or talk to authorities at a later point, the higher ups, but not jeopardize the public, their safety, and have somebody willingly, knowingly committing a crime.
I was hearing from law enforcement from all over yesterday as this story started to be amplified. And I heard similar things. Sometimes try to cut someone a break. They have another passenger maybe drive home. Years ago, they said they would either follow them home or even give them a ride home, come back later, next day, get the vehicle. But just so anyone out there is wondering, Stephanie, if you march away from a DUI stop and say to the police, you can just follow me, I have a feeling they'd be in for, a rough experience after that.
Well, a very rough experience with also more charges too. So not only, the police need to go after you and get you into custody, but there's going to be more charges on top of it. And that's not going to help your case. I mean, a DUI is a DUI, a refusal is a refusal, but you add on top of it, disorderly conduct, eluding police, all these different things. It makes it a lot different. And this case probably could have gone away a lot easier than what's happening right now. That's for sure.
Than where it sits right now. Right. Let's move on to some of the other stories out there. And this is something we had discussed, and now it has happened. North Providence officials say alleged DPW poisoning was prank that went bad. We discussed this, Stephanie. Everyone's laughing in the workplace, but someone ends up in the hospital after what someone initially thought was a prank. And I don't think anyone's laughing now.
Yeah, I mean, it might have been done with the right intentions of it being funny and stuff like that, but there's serious ramifications to jokes, to pranks that you play on people. And this is one of those examples where somebody got really hurt and it's not funny anymore. And you really have to think of those consequences prior to doing a joke or anything like that. And this is a case that the joke went really bad and the person got really injured, and lucky that they're doing as well as they are. It could have been a lot worse.
This is also a kind of a high profile situation. If you remember the situation in Warwick, where someone claimed they were telling a Nazi joke and they slapped someone. Now you have this. You just wonder, for people, employers in the workplace, what advice would you give them as far as with their employees? And again, maybe it all seems all in good fun, but then look at the result of some of this stuff.
Yeah, I think as an employer, you have to be like a zero tolerance in terms of, jokes and pranks and stuff like that. There could be, the workplace is probably never an appropriate time to do that. You also sometimes don't know your workers or employees or coworkers as well as you do family members. And a joke that you find is funny is all of a sudden, landing in a lawsuit, or if not, a criminal matter. So as an employer, I think it's a zero tolerance in terms of what happens at the workplace has to be work employment focused. If you socialize and stuff, absolutely fine. But, jokes and pranks, and you even have to be careful of, what's done off hours with employees and stuff like that. It can all come back to the employer, and they could actually be on the hook for different civil suits or charges.
In tolerating that. Folks, again, we're speaking with attorney Stephanie Murphy. Stephanie, everyone horrified the actions that took place Monday night, New York City. This guy apparently drove from Las Vegas to New York, goes to the wrong floor, open fires, funeral of the police officer held. But then we learn the Las Vegas person bought piece of rifle used by the New York gunman. I find this also interesting that someone might think, I'm just helping a friend. But what type of ramifications could they be in liability for someone? Maybe they didn't realize, but the person that ended up buying the piece of the rifle that kind of allowed this gunman, so to speak, to spring into action.
Well, I mean, through the conspiracy theory and law and stuff like that, he could be, just as liable as a person who pulls a trigger and stuff like that in terms of if they had a common plan, motive, scheme to do this. I don't know how much this person knows, and I haven't heard any evidence that he knew what he was going to be doing. But if evidence comes out about that, then that's somebody who's part of the plan and the common scheme and could definitely be in a lot of trouble. But providing a firearm for someone who might not otherwise be qualified, or an illegal firearm for somebody who can't go out and buy it, I mean, that's a serious crime in Rhode Island. I'm sure it's a serious crime in every state. So doing somebody a favor is typically okay. But when you're doing somebody a favor because they can't legally do something themselves, then, that's where the problem comes in. If they're known, I mean, I've had so many clients with gun possession charges in Rhode Island where, somebody, they bought a gun for somebody that wasn't qualified to buy a gun. That's a federal crime. That's a state crime. And you're in a lot of trouble. So I don't see any evidence or heard any evidence that he knew what he was going to do with it. But you have to be really careful, if you buy, anything for anybody and it's used for the wrong purpose. So you really have to be careful of who you're selling what to, why are you selling it, and are you selling it legally?
It's interesting you say that. I'm just curious your advice for someone, some guy says, hey, there's a guy that I play softball with, for whatever reason, he's unable to. He wants me to purchase this weapon for him. He's going to put up the money so it doesn't cost me anything. But the liability for that is far more serious.
I mean, that just sounds so bad. Someone's asking you to go buy a weapon, a gun, and you have to realize that you're on the hook for your actions, and you could be on the hook for the actions of the person that you're buying it for. It's always better to be, safer than sorry in the long run. And if someone's asking you to buy something, especially something like a weapon, you've heard other stories of, oh, he just asked me to go drop this off at someone's house, and it turns out to be drugs. I mean, you have to be careful that anything you're asked for. You could be on the hook for, the conspiracy and the common plan and scheme to buy drugs, buy guns, sell guns. So I would just have all the red flags in my head going off and just say no.
One of our listeners, followers, she actually sent this story and wanted to get your legal opinion. And it's the contractor admits wrongdoing in agreement with regulators. Her question had to do with, as a consumer, we do hear a lot of these stories of people, they're a contractor, you have to give a certain amount of money down payment. Either they do a shoddy job or they don't finish the job. What could a homeowner, someone who's hiring the contractor, what legally could they do to protect themselves before they end up just becoming another victim?
Well, I would say definitely do your research in regards to the contractor. You can go and get, ratings of how they're doing, read reviews and stuff like that. So that would be my first piece of advice. The second one is to get everything in writing and also follow up with other clients or customers that the contractor has had, just to make sure that they are really happy with it. Ask for some names and numbers, but get everything in writing. And then any complaints or any problems, I would definitely bring it to the board sooner rather than later, because you don't want to be out tens of thousands of dollars when you could be out a couple $100s. But those are some advice. But there's different boards. There's a Better Business Bureau. There's reviews and everything. So, you really have to be careful of who you choose. And once you choose, get everything in writing that lays out, what if the contractor doesn't do anything? What are your remedies? Can you get money back? Maybe not give all the money up front, do a payment plan based on the work. But definitely lawyers can help you contract with contractors in order to make sure that there's different protections that are in there for you.
I remember several years ago, this family reached out to me. They had put down a lot of money for someone who was supposed to do a major project for them. Turned out the guy had a gambling problem. Not only did he not finish the project, then the money is just gone. Then you're trying to chase someone that's already got all these liens against them.
I know. Yeah, once you give them money, it's kind of hard to get it back. So if you can't lay out the money, or if there's a supply, if the contractor has to buy supplies, you could see if you can just pay for the supplies directly. So you're paying for the supplies, you own the supplies, they're yours. You get them delivered to your house for there's a bunch of different things you can do. But I think doing the research ahead of time before you pick a contractor is really important. You can see what complaints. You can look on the judiciary website to see lawsuits. There's a lot of different things you can do, especially for a major project.
Folks, it's time for Murphy's Law. This is a story that I'm curious to hear Attorney Murphy's thought on. And, we often hear freedom of speech, Stephanie Murphy, but I am curious about this. When now you have a national Fox representative pointing out that we have the local representative, Enrique Sanchez, and he keeps referring to ICE as Nazi Gestapo thugs. But his latest posting starts talking about confronting them. It'll be a day of reckoning with no going back. I mean, it sounds like, you tell me, but it sounds like he's getting awful close to the line of, boy, that's certainly starting to sound like very threatening language.
Yeah, and I mean, it's always like a perspective of who's saying it, when they're saying it, how they're saying it. If someone's just making comments that, haven't made comments before, but you have to take comments from a person in the light of previous comments they've made. So in this case, is it crossing the line for a threat? I mean, you have to take in the whole context of, what's been said before, what's been said afterwards. But it definitely seems to be getting closer to, if this happens, this is going to happen. And you do have the freedom of speech. You're able to say, a lot of different things, but you also can't do anything that rises to the level of a threat, especially against law enforcement officers.
Yes.
So it's a really hard balancing test of what you have to do. But at the end of the day, you have to make sure everyone's safe and that everyone feels safe. And you also don't want, when it's a public official, people reacting to the public official's language and doing something on their own as a kind of incitement. So as a public official, I do feel like you have to be very careful of what you say, because you have followers and you have people who, what you say is what they're listening to. So I do think with public officials, you have to be even more careful than if it was just, Joe saying the comment on the side of the street.
Right.
Not many people might not hear it, but when it's on a platform of social media, that's when you really have to be careful.
Folks, again, it is attorney Stephanie Murphy. Stephanie, excellent job as always, and we'll talk to you again. Oh, that was my fault. I clicked her off a little bit too soon. Folks, I want to remind you, you can call her. That is my fault. Quick on the trigger. You can call her for a free consultation. It's attorney Stephanie Murphy. And I'm telling you, you never know when you may need some legal advice. And this is who I would call. And maybe you're going along and everything's fine, but then suddenly it could be you or it could be a family member that suddenly you're saying, you know what, I think we ought to talk with someone who could give us some solid legal advice. Marin, Barrett, and Murphy, criminal defense lawyers, 50 years combined Rhode Island criminal defense experience. Your fight becomes their fight. Call her 401-228-8271. 401-228-8271. Marin, Barrett, and Murphy. Again, you can also find them on social media. Now, I also want to remind you, Roof Co. Rhode Island. Maybe your roof had some damage. Did it have some damage? Why not get a free quote? Call them today. Leaky roof, wind damage, free estimate, missing lifted or curled shingles, granules in the gutter. Roof Co. Rhode Island. Call them 401-868-7149. Free estimate. And remember, if you have a new roof, put a new roof on your home or business, commercial building, what have you, it immediately, especially your home though, it immediately improves the value, increases the value of your home. 401-868-7149. Now, this is important. And what I'm talking about is first, Representative Enrique Sanchez. This is someone who, I've also mentioned this, I don't think the local press, and I'm going to make sure I post this afternoon, the local press, they've downplayed, and also the Providence City Council have downplayed what those Providence police officers went through when ICE was trying to apprehend that gang member. And to me, if you just step back for a moment, if someone tells you the day of reckoning is coming and there's going to be no going back, and that basically the enemy is going to be confronted, I mean, to me, that sounds like a threat. So I believe representatives, elected officials in Providence ought to condemn that. That's not saying I disagree with the policies. That's not saying, boy, I think we should push back. I mean, to me, when you start talking about confronting, and he was yesterday driving around looking for them. I don't see anyone stepping forward in a role of leadership in calling out this Enrique Sanchez. And he laughs, he raises money off it, but you don't see anyone on the city council. You don't hear Governor McKee. I don't think, maybe I missed it, if Mayor Smiley said anything, but to me, this is coming very close to the line, if not over the line, but pretty close. When you continue with this, Gestapo Nazi thugs, and they're going to be confronted, and the day of reckoning is coming, and there's going to be no going back. That, you tell me. I mean, that sounds very threatening to me. And maybe it's right on the line, but many times once you put that out there, it's very difficult, and not impossible, to then kind of bring it back in. Now I want to talk about this Rhode Island former state trooper, and I want to be very clear with everybody. Hi there, Phyllis. That I get. I have tremendous. I've had people. I thought you backed the blue. I back the blue when police are doing their job, and they get criticism and pushback for doing their job. I don't blindly just, no matter what, even if they're in the wrong, and I've proven that. Like that Officer Dolan in Pawtucket, that wasn't any one thing to be defended. In Providence, you had that Shanley, that the Providence brass didn't want him back on the force. But this, granted, the Rhode Island State Police, it's very clear to me that they lost control of this trooper, Nuno Vasquela, sergeant, over 20 years, state police. Was anyone monitoring him? It sounds to me as though no one was monitoring him. I don't know who he reported to. They lost control of him. What do I mean by that? Look at his social media posts. That doesn't sound like what a sergeant with the Rhode Island State Police should be posting. We're not talking about a regular citizen. We're talking about a member of law enforcement. That's number one. Number two, just so we're clear, this apparently happened back-to-back nights back in March. Doesn't seem to be remorse. He has photos still up of him drinking with his friends that night. What I'm talking about is who was the supervisor that night? Who was the lieutenant on duty that night? Who was in charge? Who made the call? He was literally, and by the way, this was the second night. Now I heard, this is what I was told, state police didn't know about the first night. Well, since he got away with it, should we really be surprised he did it again? And that's just what we know about. Was this a common occurrence? I push back against people that say, hey, listen, the guy had a problem, he needs help. Well, then he shouldn't have been driving, and he shouldn't have been a member of the Rhode Island State Police. And the people that looked the other way, they weren't helping him. When they let him go, apparently that, like it happened in the early morning hours of Sunday, so we can assume he was out Saturday night, and it was back-to-back, so he was out Friday night into Saturday, or I don't know exactly when it happened. They let him get away with it. But what I'm talking about is when Governor McKee and the state police step up and say, we did a 4-month investigation. What kind of investigation was it if no one interviewed the witness who saw him literally bouncing around the road? I think it makes it worse that it was the second night. They finally pull him over, and then he grabs his keys and storms off and says, follow me home. And what I'm told, they didn't even follow him home. We all know if that was a regular citizen, that wouldn't be allowed. But I'm talking about the investigation. Who conducted the 4-month Rhode Island State Police investigation? Because it's very obvious that the Attorney General's office didn't know about it. I can tell you they know about it now. I contacted the state police with questions. They want to blow it off. They're not interested in the video that witnesses have of him literally bouncing off on Route 6 like a bumper car. So state police, they're not interested in that video. Well, you know who is interested in that video? The Attorney General's office. The Rhode Island Attorney General's office is taking a closer look. Misdemeanor case? Misdemeanor? He storms off from a DUI traffic stop where they allow him staggering on his feet, smelling of alcohol. His colleagues didn't prevent him from driving away from a drunk driving stop. Do you guys, and if you're a member of the Rhode Island State Police, don't you see how selfish this guy is? He is detonating the reputation of the state police in real time. And as far as the colonel of the state police, I don't know him that. I don't really know him at all. I think I met him once. He clearly was not in charge of the trooper that night. He was in charge of the investigation after that, or his command staff was. Nuno Vasconcelos of Johnston. Here's another thing. Where the hell was he going? He was on 295 South. 295 South. They pulled him over. They finally got him over past 295 South, past TF Green Airport. He didn't take 290. Route 6 leads to Johnston. Then you can go to 295. That would be 295 North. He wasn't even close to if he lives in Johnston. Not guilty to reckless driving, obstructing an officer. Those are the charges. Fellow troopers stopped him in March, suspicion of drunk driving, but he wasn't given sobriety tests. His then colleagues let him drive away without consequence. What are we talking about? How are they stopping anyone? After learning about the incident, state police staff launched a criminal internal investigation. Who is running it? Ray Charles or Helen Keller? The 20-year veteran of the state police was forced to retire. Oh boy. Boy, they really threw the book at him. Police video shows him repeatedly swerving around 295. DePetro.com has him from an eyewitness bouncing into the barriers on Route 6. Attorney General Peter Neronha said the office is reviewing the evidence to see if additional charges should be applied. While the incident happened months ago, their office wasn't notified till Monday. Gee, why was that? Because Governor McKee said, we're going to keep this quiet. Governor McKee told the state police colonel, we're going to keep this quiet. We're going to keep this in-house. Don't tell Neronha's office. Folks, is that what you're defending? The people that are upset and defending this guy? Is that what you're defending? So Governor McKee decides that's the Rhode Island you're going to live in. There's so much about this matter the Attorney General finds disappointing, including the more than 4 months it took the state police to notify the Attorney General's office of the incident. This is not a routine or simple matter, shouldn't have been treated as such. Vasconcelos pled not guilty on Tuesday. Of course he pled not guilty, and of course he's going to sue the state police. You know why? He doesn't care about the state police. This guy was grabbing, stealing over $300,000. How many state police sergeants make over $300,000? Does that sound like someone doing things on the books? He doesn't care about the state police. It's all a money grab. This office alone is authorized to prosecute all charges brought by the state police. Governor McKee authorized the forced retirement as long as the state police didn't tell the Attorney General's office. That's who you're defending? Is this what you're happy about? So Governor McKee, he sets the rules. he authorized the forced retirement of Nuno Vasconcelos as long as the Attorney General's office was kept in the dark. He had authorized it, which is required under the obscure state law, allows state police to terminate a trooper who served at least 20 years. This guy's going to sue to get his money, his job back, because it's all about the money with this guy. Do you understand? This guy's way left the reservation. 2 nights in a row he did it. Oh, yeah, a lot of remorse. He feels bad. Let me guess. Is he seeking help, seeking treatment? In the treatment he's seeking, do they encourage him to keep up the photos of him drinking that night? Is that all part of, what is it, the 12-step process? Is that part of the process? Does this sound like someone who in any way is sorry for their actions that night? By you keep up pictures of you holding a drink, holding various weapons? Here's Magritte. We expect our police officers to not only uphold the law, but model lawful behavior for the community. McKee said, I agreed that the sergeant's behavior was inexcusable and approved his involuntary retirement effective immediately. State police responded to 911 calls of a person driving erratically early hours of March 23rd. Oh, yeah, he feels so bad about it that he has left up pictures of him drinking that night. Does that sound like someone remorseful? What step is that in the process that you go through with AA? Police video from that night shows officers caught up to him, repeatedly swerving out of the roadway. The John DePietro show has exclusive video that witnesses videoed the trooper that night. The state police had no interest in looking at the video. Why is that? What kind of investigation is that? Rhode Island State Police, during their 4-month investigation, had no interest in talking to witnesses that called 911 or filmed the trooper driving recklessly that night. How is that a 4-month investigation? What kind of investigation is that? With an investigation, I'll answer my own questions. You want to see everything. You want to talk to every witness. They should have talked to the people in the house. Where was he coming from? By the way, this is 2 nights now. He did it the night before. Who was with him? What was he drinking? How much did he have? Was he in a bar, nightclub? Is there video of it? Do you see him swerving, on his feet there? What video do we have of this? Is it video from the DOT cameras? Are there any witnesses? Oh, there are witnesses. Let's talk to them. Let's get their video. Guys, what is this? That's not an investigation. That's a whitewash. I want to remind people, this isn't Rhode Island College security. This is supposed to be the Rhode Island State Police. They're pretty well paid, last time I checked. They have a pretty healthy budget. Is this how they conduct an investigation? I want to be very clear for the command staff. I get it. We didn't know he was doing that. He's got a problem. He had to go dry out. It's how you handled it after it happened. Who decided? Oh, well, no one said anything when he did it the Friday night. Gee, what a surprise. He did it again. Yeah, that's what drunks do. They'll disappoint you that way. You know why he did it again the next night? Because he got away with it. How many other times was he allowed to get away with it? Was this commonplace? Oh, we know who that is. Let alone also, someone made a good point. They could run the plate. They know who's driving. Oh, let him go. It's just Nuno. He just tied one on again. Where the hell was he going? I've been with police. They pull someone. Where are you coming from and where are you headed? License, registration. I have the video up of that girl, doing the thing. Oh, it's just something basic. Say the alphabet. Walk the line. I'm talking about the state police were the ones that said he had an odor of alcohol and was literally swaying on his feet. So what do? They allow him to just drive away. Okay, let's say he intimidated those young troopers. Who was the supervisor that night? Who let him get away with it the night before? Who ran the 4-month investigation? Who decided we don't want to see any video of that night? Who decided we don't want to talk to any witnesses? Who made the decision? Let's not talk to anyone he was drinking with that night. That is absolutely unacceptable and obscene, period. And no one's going to tell me differently, by the way. Some of these people calling, hey, listen, the head of the state police, it sure sounds like he went along with McKee. In for a penny, in for a pound. He couldn't control the guy that night, but he had control after that. Either he made the wrong decision or the people under him did. Should we expect more? What would happen if anyone, regular person, stormed away? State police pull someone over. Give me those keys. You're not towing my vehicle. You can follow me home. And then they didn't even follow him home. How do you think that would end? Is that the new Rhode Island way? You know what? Just for that, we're going to force you to retire. Boy, what a punishment. Folks, this portion of the program is brought to you by Arch Design Builders. What part am I wrong about? What part am I wrong about? Arch Design Builders. Call them today, 401-207-4124. Do you need a new kitchen, bathroom, basement, deck, special project? Arch Design Builders. The husband and wife team, Ed and Roxanne, 401-218-9707. Arch Design Builders. Set up that meeting and let them see the space that we're talking about. Kitchen, bathroom, let them redo your basement. Maybe redo your garage. Arch Design Builders. Set up that free meeting. Ed and Roxanne, 401-218-9707. Folks, I want to repeat, not that I should have to, I take no joy in this story. None. Okay, so you have a wild card. I get it. Police can't control everyone, let alone he's off duty. 2 nights in a row? What I'm talking about is who did the investigation. A 4-month state police investigation. I'm not a member of the law enforcement. Okay. I'm naming things you would think would be run of the mill. Why didn't they tell the Attorney General's office about it? I already know the answer to that because McKee said that. See, Colonel Weaver, he's on board with the governor. The governor's driving the train on this. Governor McKee, of course, it's going to blow up in his face because everything McKee tries to hide ends up blowing up in his face. And then he's another one. He's bringing everyone along for the ride. Who did the investigation? I mean, I don't think these are outrageous things to ask for. Let's get any video we have of the event. Let's starting with where was he? Where was he coming from? Who was there? Now, the picture of him with the people, that looks like a bar. So is there video surveillance of the bar? Did someone at the bar, did some of the bartenders, someone there, were they concerned that he was swaying to his vehicle? Who knew about it the night before? What are their punishments? Who decided not to interview witnesses? Who decided we don't want any film from any of the witnesses? Who decides that? What kind of investigation is this? Let me be very clear. I'm not saying it's the 9/11 investigation, okay? But this is beyond the pale. This is, it doesn't border on embarrassing. It is embarrassing. It is embarrassing. I get it. I'm hearing from people, a bunch of the state police are pissed at you. Too bad. You're wrong. Their anger is at the wrong person. Their anger should be directed at their sergeant, former sergeant, Nuno. Their anger should be at whoever the supervisor was that late night into the early morning that allowed him to storm away. Their anger should be at whoever was involved the night before. Their anger should be at who did the investigation. Their anger should be at the colonel who went along with McKee to keep the Attorney General out of the loop. That's where their anger should be. You're a I'm a moron. This guy has no regard for the state police. Don't kill the messenger here. Yeah, he's going to sue. Of course he's going to sue. He's been grabbing $314,000 a year. You think that's all on the up and up? Wait till what? He doesn't think anyone's going to look at that? Folks, McKee screws up everything. He screwed up the bridge. He screwed up the ILO contract. He screwed up the thing with Tony Silva. Rhode Island Governor Dan McKee should not be the governor. What would make the state police think that McKee was going to handle this properly? Look at his track record. Of course he was going to screw this up. You're talking about selfish individuals. First, the sergeant that put his fellow troopers in that position, he doesn't care. What does he care now? Now it's just a big money grab. He doesn't care about their careers. He doesn't care that someone was forced to retire, other people being disciplined. No, when you're dealing with someone like that who doesn't care, the key is then you shouldn't care. You shouldn't care. Those guys are taking a bullet for someone who doesn't care. He doesn't care anymore. Oh, yeah, he's got a real problem. He is so remorseful. He's leaving up the photos of him drinking that night. Pathetic. And the last thing, yeah, let's follow the advice of the governor because he handles things well. Yeah, right. Folks, this portion of the program, J. Perry Paving, free estimate, any project. Call them 401-732-1730. Are you a veteran? J. Perry Paving. They have a special package for veterans. 401-732-1730. If you're a veteran, or your mom is, or your dad, or your grandfather, or your son, or your aunt, or grandmother, call J. Perry Paving and just say, hey, listen, my grandfather is a veteran and we'd like to get his driveway paved. Call them. Free estimate. 401-732-1730. Well, folks, with everyone with Road Patrol Live, we're going to see what the weather is like. Coming up, you're going to hear the 2 o'clock news on the radio. I want to be very clear. I take no joy in this, but this is insanity. This has McKee's fingerprints, as I suspected, written all over it. Don't kill the messenger. You're a member of the Rhode Island State Police, retired trooper. Have it where it's directed. The people that don't care about your agency. It's not me. It's not me. It's the selfish sergeant and then the politician that got in the way. All right. We'll see you later on tonight.